day one from orientation, you can ask my friends, I was like, I'm leaving. Tomorrow's my last day. And they're like, yeah, okay. Like every single, like literally every day. And my friend looks at me at graduation. We're sitting there and she's like, hey, today's your last day, huh? I'm like, I know.
I love that.
A couple of the things I hated about it was it's like a spectacle, right? This show of the Socratic method and just like drilling you to try and put you down. Like it just felt to me like it wasn't about, and I had a graduate assistantship because I did 1 year of a joint master's and in Latin American studies and law.
Cool. Yeah.
And so in the same time being exposed to graduate school
Totally
and law
different,
school,
right?
such
It's
a
so
difference. My
different. Oh my
goodness.
gosh. There's like there's a respectability in grad school.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
They treat you like a person. If you're struggling,
Totally.
they try to understand where you're coming from.
I know.
Come and see me. Let's discuss this as a class. Like it just feels
Exactly.
more personable.
Exactly.
And no matter what you're struggling with, I mean, you have people there that are career changing, people going back to school. You have kids straight from under. It's just like this variety, but there's like, again, like respect for everybody. Like everybody has a voice in that class, And so part of what law school too for me was, I just felt like I didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
I clerked for an immigration attorney for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And most of that was before and during law school. And so coming into law school with that experience, I was the only one that spoke Spanish at this firm for most of the time I was there. And I had my hands in every case. I mean, from asylum cases to, sponsored visas and all this stuff. And I had my hands in every single thing. I still couldn't even talk about that. Like for my seminar paper, I did it on like the effect of undocumented immigrants in the U.S. economy. Mm-hmm. I couldn't say anything that I knew from my experience and my time. My professor's like, that's great. Find somebody to quote, like that has more authority than you. Like you're nobody. You know what I mean? And so out of a 26-page paper, it was like 11 original sentences. I was like, when do I get to say something? And so for me, as talkative as I am, as expressive as I am, and as assertive as like I have always been like, I want to put my 2 cents in.
Yeah.
It just felt like, shut up. Like this constant, just like, be quiet. This is how we do it. I don't care what you think. It doesn't matter. Like that to me was insane. And so.
Did you find that it was gendered too? Did you find that?
Yeah, somewhat. And for my school too, I mean, in my class, this is like the flagship school of the state. It's what they call a PWI, like a predominantly white institution. Mm-hmm. In a class of over 100 students, it was 5 of us that were students of color. You know what I mean? So in these class discussions, it was like, are you serious right now? Like, is this real life?
It's a problem,
and you're thinking,
right?
It is.
Because what happens in those classes, and we'll get back to quilting, is that who's in the class really, I mean, the makeup of the class matters because of life experience, of perspective.
Of course.
And it's really difficult when you have only 5 minorities in a school. Yeah, it's not good.
And it was super disappointing for me too, because I left undergrad and it was at the same school, so it was like, okay, because it's undergrad, whatever, I'm going to law school. Like this is elevated. These people are, the creme de la creme. Like these are the students that I went to school with are like top attorneys in the state, like legislators, judges, like these are their kids I went to law school with. Mm-hmm. So to hear these same people that are going to have this type of effect on your direct local and state community was like, is this real life? Like where am I right now? Like this is not going to change, Yeah. So that was tough for me. So it was really a depressing time.
No, I'm sorry.
Not to mention I didn't have any money. So I had to petition for first year, 1Ls, you're not supposed to work. I had to work. Mm-hmm. And so I actually took a job at Joann's Fabrics, making $7.10 an hour with a BA cum laude from the University of Florida. My mom was like, are you kidding me? You're wasting your time. And I remember telling her, it's not about the money. I didn't have money to buy fabric like that. Yeah. So just putting the bolts back where they went was so satisfying and relaxing for me, because I would just think like, oh, this would make such a cute skirt. Yeah. Oh, this would make such a cute quilt with these fabrics. Oh, and being able to like, even in my head, be in that creative space was like literally what got me through law school. I mean, my paychecks were like $42 straight up. And then you're eating peanut butter and jelly sandwich next to somebody who's like, my dad just called. He surprised me with a wedding dress fund. Apparently I have 35 grand to buy the wedding dress I've always wanted. Yeah. And like you're eating a PB&J and you don't know how you're going to pay the rent. Like it was a lot.
School.
It was just like a lot all the way around.
No,
and
I'm
so
sorry to hear that.
I found that being around fabrics and creating and textiles, like that was like my happy place.
Yeah.
And I told my mom, I was like, listen, I'm 22. I think I can keep my fingers away from the needle. You need to teach me how to sew. So she was like, okay, let me go to a garage sale and see what machine I can find you. So she found me like a 1966 Singer, one of the first zigzag stitch machines. She drove up here, brought it to me, and then she showed me how to thread it. And I'm like, okay, now what? And she's like, stitch 1,000 straight lines. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And she's like, there's nothing more important than sewing straight, you know? So I'm like, okay, I did a few straight lines. I'm like, I'm sewing straight. I need to make something. So she went home, and I literally went to my closet, pulled out an old pair of jeans that didn't fit me anymore, cut them up, and started sewing. I mean, I would sew the stuff wrong sides together, and then I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, that didn't work. Let's try it again. You know, like cut the seam off, flip it right sides out, and then sew it again. I'm like, okay. And that's just even in my house, just inventing like that, trial and error.
Yeah.
Then I started seeking out classes, and I would sit in the back row in my law classes, second and third year. I would skip class just to go to a quilting class. And my friends would laugh. They're like, you're the only 22-year-old that's like skipping out of class to go sew with a bunch of grandmas. And I'm like, and I love every second of it. Okay.
When I was in grad school, our apartment building was right next to a quilting shop. So
oh my gosh.
I know. And I was, it was my escape too, because it was like, okay, well, these people don't care whether I've done my reading or not.
That's it. You got it. They're just like, oh, cute fabrics. Oh, what are you gonna make? Like
it's so loving compared to the sort of experience of law school.
Exactly. I absolutely agreed. And so I started making stuff like I'd make a messenger bag and take it to school, and people were like, you made that? And I'm like, yeah, you want to buy one? And so that's how I started. And that's literally what got me through my last couple of years of law school, to where I was like, you know what, this is not even, I'm just, I'm going to finish, I'm going to do what I need to do, but this is not my happy place. And I know for sure I'm not going to be an attorney. Ever.
Right, so how did you get, so next steps, you graduate and you taught at
a community college. I taught it, they have a paralegal program.
Yeah.
And so I taught there. And I think I'm a teacher first and foremost, right? Regardless of what I'm teaching. It just happens to be that I have this love for teaching and I have a love for learning. So I think it's like this unique combination that whatever I learn, I do something halfway successfully and I'm like, oh, that was easy. I can teach it. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like whatever I learn, I teach. And my goal really is to like learn as much as I can about as much as I can. So I never really limit myself like, oh, I'm not interested in that. I'm like, well, maybe one day I'll need it, And so I like to learn a little bit about everything. And so what I liked about teaching, even though it was law and I hated law stuff, but it was paralegal program. So it was practical stuff. Yeah. It wasn't all this theory. It wasn't the Socratic method. It was like, when the attorney tells you need to do this, this is what you need to do. Right. In the real world, this is how it works, And I loved it because one of the reasons, I was the youngest one in the room because at a community college, a lot of these people were career-changing grown-ups. Yeah. And so they're looking at me like, this is our teacher? Like I'm handing out the syllabi. Right. And they're like, is this a TA or like what's going on? Right. But I loved it because I was able to take the complex legal jargon stuff, because even those books, it's legal stuff, and break it down to them in a way that like the everyday person can understand and see how it's applied in regular life. Yeah. I like to take complex things and break it down in just like 8th grade language. Like, this is, guys, you don't have to get scared. You don't have to be nervous. Like, oh, I don't understand. This is too fancy. I'm not that smart. They think all these things. And that's one of the things I wondered in law school too. I'm like, why are y'all making it so much harder than it has to be? Like common sense, and I like to just break it down to regular terms. Really, and so that's what I liked about that.
Well, that's really cool. Okay, well, I want to move into your current life. Sure. A couple of things. And what I'd love to do is really sort of break down both what you do and how you do it and how you became what you are, which is incredible. A little bit about the economics and the logistics. I have a feeling that you're able to do as much as you do because you've got a lot. You're can-do, get things done kind of person, but we'll learn more of that. Your audience, the industry. Yep. And then I just want to start with saying that the reason I know you is because I told you this in the email I sent you. When I was looking I really wanted to learn to free motion quilt it, and I wanted a big machine. And so I found your Juki 2010 review.
You're like sight awesome. Unseen. I'm like, that's awesome.
Right. And so there are no Juki dealers in New Orleans. So there was no way to test it. So, but it was exactly what I wanted. And I watched your interview and I just trusted you. There was something about you that was like amazing. So my law school business, you'll like this. The law school purchased the machine.
That's awesome. Oh my word.
I know. Do you like that?
I love that story. Yes.
And then
there you go, law school.
Exactly. And then I had to travel this summer. So I explained to them that the Juki 2010 is kind of like a desktop and I needed a laptop. So I could travel with the machine. And I looked around and I went back to you and I got a Juki Exceed because that's
awesome.
And so that's my connection to you. So I feel more connected to you.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So I had to tell you that you've influenced my life on a daily basis, which is awesome.
So cool.
Okay. So you are like a superstar. You're YouTube. You've got all over the place. You've done a lot of really cool stuff, and you're not an attorney. You are full time with this, and you're called. Tell everyone what your name is online, so in case they want to.
Sure.
Yeah.
So my online name is Crafty Gemini.
Yeah.
You can if you do a Google search for a Crafty Gemini or the Crafty Gemini, anything I've ever done will pop up. On YouTube, the channel itself is called The Crafty Gemini, but everywhere else is just Crafty Gemini. My website, craftygemini.com. And I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm really active on Facebook and Instagram more than the others also for daily happenings and different things that's going on. But it's under Crafty Gemini on those as well.
How did all this begin?
All right.
You graduated from law school and you're teaching at a community college. That's
right.
Yeah.
So I graduated from law school. I didn't want to be an attorney. I took a job at the same university, but in undergraduate admissions office. So when I was in law school, I worked. It's so funny because I hated law school, but I worked in the recruitment office, and I would go to events all around the country and tell kids about how amazing our law school was because it just wasn't for me. You know what I mean? But I've always had this kind of salesy thing, right? Yeah, I've always done great at sales, even if I'm selling stuff that I didn't like. So it's easier for me if I'm enthusiastic and I like something, it just comes off and people they believe it and they buy it. You know what I mean? Whatever.
Well, you sold me, so that.
So I met my husband after I graduated from law school, and we dated for 4 months and got married. And he told me, he's like, when you told me that you were making that kind of money, like I used to work for T-Mobile selling cell phones, right? In Miami, Florida, which is super, saturated, is such a shark and hustling kind of community. And it's all about the dollars, and you're getting paid on commission. So you got to hustle for every dollar you're making. And I made, I don't know, maybe like $20-something thousand in like 4 months,
Wow.
just working part-time, because people would come in and you made more money off of selling them like the data plans, like a phone, Blackberries, the HP phones, things that had data plans. But I don't do that. I'm like, where do you work? Okay. A guy would come in and tell me he works at the airport. I'm like, you're not going to get good reception with any of these. The best reception is going to be with this phone that's actually, and so like that, people would then start coming in with their entire family, switching them from other companies. Because and if they ask for my name, right? Because I just keep it real. I just want to be real with people and just help them. It's not whatever.
I have to say, Vanessa, that you did that with me. I mean,
awesome. Yay!
I spent a lot of the law school spent a lot of money on machines.
Yeah.
And it was just
they're not cheap. That's why I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's a leap of faith, right? And part of that's sort of your that's your brand, right? That's who you are. You feel connected to you. You feel real. You feel like it's funny because I was watching some of the videos that you've produced, and I'm so quilty, and I'm not practical in any way. And I'm like, oh well, I want to make that. Like you make people feel like they can do it, and that's what I
love it. I'm glad you're saying that, because that's exactly what I tried to do. Because even as a student myself, if I see stuff, I'm like, why are they making it so hard? I know that it doesn't have to be that hard, but if you don't know, you're going to be like, oh, I'm not worthy. Because this is what I see a lot, especially when you teach in person at retreats or classes.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like a woman thing, if it's like just an older person. I don't know what it is, but it's this constant apology for everything they do. Yeah. They just have like no confidence, no self-esteem. Oh, I don't think I can do that. Oh, I'm so sorry for bothering you again. Oh, I'm so sorry for asking another question. And it's like, look, stop. Right. Okay. It's hard because you don't know it. But that's why